The next question we'll start with Mr. Franken. In his book, Conscience of a Liberal, Paul Wellstone said, quite often it is important as a senator to take on vested power. I think this is where the Democratic Party is weakest. When it comes to funding for Head Start, affordable child care, more investments in job training, housing, health, and education, the differences between the Democrats and Republicans make a difference. But not when it comes to challenging economic power in America. The same powerful investors control both parties. I hate saying this, it is the most discouraging thing about being a senator, but it is a reality. If you become a U.S. senator, what would you do to change that?
Well, I think one of the first things you have to do, and this is sort of the meta problem in politics, is try to take the money out. We need public funding of federal elections. All you have to do is look at where Norm Coleman gets his money from, and you'll see why Norm Coleman makes the decisions that he makes. That is why I'm so proud that our campaign has over 52,000 contributors and has an average, our average contribution has been about $70. We're trying to build a grassroots movement, like Paul did, to break the stranglehold of big money on politics. And I think it's absolutely essential that we take these companies who give this big money. They know what they're doing. They're not doing it because they like Norm Coleman. I don't know who does, really, like Norm Coleman. I'm sure people do. They're doing it because they get a result. So I'd say the first thing we have to do is we have to get labor unions to be able to organize, pass the Employee Free Choice Act. I was at the university today as well, along with Jack and Mike. And we have to stand up for working men and women. I'm proud that I have the steelworkers endorsement, and I have the workers endorsement of the Teamsters. I will stand up for working men and women when I go to the Senate. And I think it starts with money, with the money in politics, getting it out.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman.
One quick footnote to the previous question. I'm a certified teacher, and I think I understand very well the kind of challenges that we have with the NCLB. In terms of this issue, yes, take a look at the money, follow the money, and take a look at how it is corrupting the whole influence, including this nominating process. It doesn't require a person to be a millionaire, a multi-millionaire, or a celebrity in order to seek this office, and it shouldn't. We should not be going out and having direct mail campaigns that put $1 million or more into direct mail campaigns in order to secure small contributors. What this is about is the character and quality and service and resume of each of the individuals on this panel in order to look at what the nominee should be. Who he should be depends not on money, because there's corruption in this process of nominating as well. In terms of taking on the big, powerful influences, in 1975, we were suing as Deputy Assistant Director of the Federal Trade Commission and the Bureau of Consumer Protection the tobacco industry for false and misleading claims, for unfair advertising. We began the whole notion of corrective advertising to begin to get this cycle away from the terrible practices in which the companies were involved. I've stood up for working men and working women in many different ways, in many different forums for over 40 years. And you know, I understand how you can take on the powerful influences, because I've been one of you. I've been a working person. I've been a construction worker. I've operated a jackhammer. I've been a taxi cab driver. for 2 years. I've made my way through law school. I've been a salesperson and a construction carpenter's assistant. I know and feel the pain of every person who is a working woman and working man in this room. And I'm going to make sure that that pain is translated into action.
Three practical examples of what Wellstone meant, I think. First, in healthcare. Other industrial countries in the world provide good health care to all of their citizens. If you look at the debate in this country and what's being offered by politicians of both parties, the starting point is to protect the interests of the pharmaceutical industry, the HMOs, and the insurance companies. If that's your starting point, you can't get to universal health care. So there's one example. Second example, global warming. To really do what I said needs to be done, to have those 90% reductions by 2030, we're going to have to take on the auto manufacturers who say they can't get to 35 miles per gallon by 2025. The Model T Ford got 37 miles per gallon. I think we're going to have to take on the energy companies. If you go to the state fair and learn how clean nuclear power is, how clean coal is, both parties are being influenced by these corporations. And then how tragic is it that Dwight Eisenhower, a Republican president, was the last politician in public life to talk seriously about the military-industrial complex, which is destroying this country and helps explain why we invaded Iraq, why we have the distorted budget priorities that I've tried to hit home on. Now, we do need to get publicly financed elections. We do need to strengthen unions. When you elect Jack Nelson-Pallmeyer to the U.S. Senate, I will tell you something that Paul Wellstone always meant to me. Paul Wellstone had a bad back, but Paul Wellstone had a really good political spine. That's what we need in sending someone to Washington.
Celebrity and a lot of money. Well, I guess that's us.
Hey,
now,
He's been in.
hold on. Now, take all my time.
Gentlemen.
I'll take my time. Now, I may be a celebrity. Jack may be a celebrity. Let's talk Turkey. The money is on both sides, Democrats and Republicans, and it has been. So you either have federal funding, set limits on it, or you take all the limits off and make it transparent and cut off funding 30 days before the election. Now, I opt for federal funding. Al is a celebrity. He can spend a lot of money on telemarketers and get these small donations. Others have to call up. Nobody has ever owned Mike Ceresa. And nobody ever will. I am the one who has fought the pharmaceutical companies. Took them on and put my entire law firm at risk. And they stayed with me because they knew it was the right thing to do. I took on the tobacco companies and once again put our law firm at risk. People left because they thought I was going to bankrupt the firm. But everybody else stayed with it because it was the right thing to do. Nobody's going to own this candidate. You need money to run. And I'll tell you another thing. Money is not going to be a factor in this race. I don't care who the endorsed candidate is. Because we're going to take this seat back if we have the right candidate. And money's going to come in from around the country. And right now, Al and I have already raised enough money to get the endorsement. How much do you need to get a Democratic endorsement? You need more than $1 million? Doesn't make any sense to me, folks. So don't let money get in the idea or get in your brain about where we're going with this election. Not going to happen.